Welcome back to Esquire Q&A, the show where we sit down with men and women who exhibit both style and substance. My guest today is a good friend to the brand. He appeared in last year's Biggest Influencers of the Gulf list as our only technology vlogger. However, he has since then expanded out into the world of men's luxury lifestyle, cars and watches. Yes, EMKWAN is an Abu Dhabi-based influencer who started his original YouTube channel by happenstance. Today, his two channels now boast more than 150,000 subscribers. But don't take my word for it. In today's podcast, EMKWAN talks about how he got started, where he thinks the world of YouTube and vlogging is going next, as well as his newfound interest in watches. Enjoy. So I've done an intro, kind of beforehand, but I like to have kind of the guests introduce themselves. Let's say that you are at a party, you don't know anyone, and someone goes...
The elevator pitch.
Yeah, who are you?
So, I'm EMKWAN. It's a pseudonym. I cover mostly tech and lifestyle. So, it's within lifestyle, it's watches, cars, travel. And I have two YouTube channels. So, YouTube's my main thing. Combined, I think it's about 150,000 subscribers. I don't know, 20, 30 million views. Also on Instagram and Twitter as well. And then, Snapchat when I'm feeling sort of lonely or whatever. And then, Facebook as well. So, but it's mostly around tech and lifestyle that I cover. Yeah.
So I guess what prompted you to go into content creating? What prompted you to go, I'm gonna review something, I'm gonna film it?
For me, it happened all the way back when I was in university. I had an initial YouTube channel that I set up. And I think that started off because at the time, I was in student accommodation. It was like a student house. We didn't have the TV license. Nobody was bothered to pay for that. So we lived basically off YouTube, completely. And I think at the time I wanted to buy a camcorder, and there was a friend of mine who was selling it. And I was trying to get him to open the box. And he says, look, once I remove the plastic, it loses its value. But go online, there are unboxing videos. And I mean, this is years ago. And I remember watching one unboxing video, and it was the most weirdest thing ever. Now, if you describe that to someone now, someone unboxing a product, it makes perfect sense. But back then it was really weird, guys unwrapping a plastic and, it smells like this, and he's taking stuff out. It's incredibly addictive. So I watched one, watched another, watched, probably 50, 60. By the end of it, I was like, this is so cool. I want to do the same thing, So I at that time, I bought the camcorder, and then I ended up buying a BlackBerry, and I unboxed the BlackBerry. And then one thing led to the other. I think there was a video that I did that got picked up by BlackBerry. BlackBerry said, look, can we use this at a developer conference? And they did it, and they gave me a free phone for it. And I was like, oh, shoot, this is... I mean, bear in mind, at that time, BlackBerry, I think it was a Bold 9900 or something like that. That cost an arm and a leg at the time. So that was the beginning of where it started. And then that channel died out. And when I came out here, I thought I'd, initially when I came out here, there was a vlog channel that I ran. But I also had another tech channel. So over time, I've kind of decided that was more my kind of thing, reviews, and using that channel as an outlet now. Yeah.
So so I used to work in tech. I used to work in a magazine called Stuff.
No Stuff very well.
Which is a big tech. Now, kind of they got into the video game really early. So in the early 2000s, their website stuff.tv. So they started reviewing things on this is kind of pre-YouTube. Exactly. They had their own little
They had their own website and a platform. And
now I look at tech vloggers like yourself, but again MKBHP,
Marcus.
Huge. Why do you think that individuals have somehow managed to supersede brands kind of so extraordinarily?
Yeah.
Not just in tech, but again, it's in fashion, it's in kind of all categories.
Because I think social media is about there's a social element of it which brands can't do. If you think about ITP, you put that on a YouTube channel. What is ITP? Who is ITP? I think that's the thing. I think the fact that bloggers, influencers, content creators, whatever you want to call them, but individuals have more traction because they're seen as more personable. And there's that kind of intimate relationship that you might develop with someone. You might like their style, you might like the way they look, and that's easier to fall in love with on a social media platform than it is a brand and an entity, It's interesting because I was watching a couple of videos related to the Rolex store here in Dubai, and I noticed that there were quite a few publications that had exclusive access to that. But if you compare like one or two other content creators who are like watch-orientated people who've posted up videos much later, they've got a hell of a lot more traction than these publications. And I think that happens because it's also the style. Different content creators are different. I mean, my style is really kind of unpolished. A lot of people say to me, get yourself a tripod, get yourself better lighting. I do it my style because in my view, what I create is what I would genuinely believe and like to watch as well, which can come across through a person in that format, whereas it's a lot more difficult for publication, I think, on something like YouTube to gain that traction. So I think I don't know what the psyche behind it is, but I think based on my own experiences, it's easier to relate to someone as an individual than it is to relate to someone behind a brand. Suddenly it loses its kind of almost value, you know.
Do you think that like if you kind of up production, like for example, you had some guy follow you around, if you had proper lighting, do you think that would like, do you think people would think of you as like being less authentic?
I think, I mean, I certainly view it that way. When people start doing stuff like that, I'm like, okay, like I wonder what's going on here. You know, it doesn't lose that authenticity, but it does kind of, and this is for me personally. I mean, again, I just wonder like what's going on in the background. I much rather prefer someone just talking. Like, you know, it can be like audio can be really rubbish, sound could be really rubbish, so long as I can view and see it. But it brings across that sort of, you know, authenticity, I guess. I've tried to experiment with something like that in the past, and I think people have said that it'd be nice to see more of that. You know, upping the quality level, getting somebody else just to follow me around. So I might experiment with that, but I think things are in stages. But it still points back to the fact that it's always easier to gain traction on social media when it's an individual than when it is, you know, a publication.
So kind of going back to the Rolex thing. So we were one of the brands that were in Rolex.
I know.
And we did quite well, and then kind of tapered off, as you said. One of the things was I wasn't in the video. It was our editor Matt, and he was suited and booted. He hadn't gone to the barbers in a while. He had a bit of a crazy beard. And so we put it up, and obviously kind of the world, like we had the video up within 24 hours, something like that. The world looked at it. And we just started to, you look at the comments, and it is, I mean, like the word terrorist is thrown in there because we're in the Middle East. Matt's Italian as well. I don't really understand it. People were calling him Teen Wolf because he hadn't had a shave. How do you deal that? Do you get haters on your channel?
I get that a lot. I've been doing, like I said, YouTube for a while, social media for a while. So like you just grow a thick skin. Like I've had everything. Like it's really weird at the moment. There's this, I mean, in the past it was the normal stuff like, you know, terrorists. You know, the whole bunch of like Middle East related like profanity. But I've started like just dressing up a bit better, like wearing suits, especially with the Rolex video. I was wearing a suit. And people would say, oh, rich Arab, oil money, that kind of stuff. I remember recently I posted up the Huawei Mate X video. And that was really interesting because people were like, oh, of course he gets it first because he's a millionaire. I Googled you, you know, your net worth is X amount, which is totally wrong, you know, whatever. But it's that kind of connotation and perception. I don't know, you just have to grow a thick skin. Like I said, recently, the whole focus is, I'm not really sure if it's a compliment or what, but a lot of people are saying, oh, I love your eyelashes. Like, this is a new thing. So I suppose in one hand, it's like, it's gone from, you know, terrorist lookalike to, oh, wow, those eyelashes real. Does he go to the men's salon for his eyebrows, which I don't, incidentally, but, you know, it's one of those things. So, yeah, it's weird, but you have to grow a thick skin. You have to do that. I think, again, it's harder for publications because, you know, if you get kind of comments like that, that is a reflection on publications, you know, in some respects. So you're forced to kind of remove that. And once you start removing it, this is the background now, according to the algorithm on YouTube, you start losing engagement, which then doesn't help the video. So it's interesting. But again, I mean, this is the thing. You know, when I referred to the Rolex video, I put my Rolex video up 8 months after you guys. And I think that's got like what 600,000 views. Yeah,
whereas ours has got like 35. Well, we had a good 48 hours,
and but
then it tapers off.
Yeah, and it's interesting because again, I mean, a lot of that, I'm no Rolex specialist, but in the last 18 months, like if you type in Rolex EMKWAN or Rolex Dubai into YouTube, the algorithm picks up my stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a part of that has also been the fact that I claim not to be a Rolex expert, even on the Rolex forums and other forums. Like, I'm just someone who says, look, I'm buying my first Rolex. This is the journey that I'm on. Come and join me. I'm no expert. Don't buy what I'm buying. But I'm basically documenting and sharing that with people. And it's interesting because, again, like 18 months ago, I reached out to some of the brands that authorized leaders for Rolex. Nobody wanted to know me. Who are you? Stick to tech, this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool because I like that kind of proving people wrong as well. 18 months after that, it's like, look, we're begging you, please. I was like, cool. Let's arrange a discount on a good watch. That's how you do it. So I think, again, that traction wouldn't have happened if I was a publication. It happens when you can afford as an individual to say opinions and work on what the algorithm essentially favors, which is individuals, I suppose, on the platform. Yeah.
So at what point did it become like, at what point did it go from like hobby to like, oh, I'm going to actually do this?
It's still a hobby for me because I have a 9-to-5. And like I'm at this juncture where like I keep considering moving from a 9-to-5 to this full time, but like I have dependents, I have a wife, I have kids, and I don't know. Like at the moment, for me, it's a really weird thing. Like I enjoy it as a hobby. Yeah. If I had to depend on it, it would become work, and I don't think I'd enjoy it as much.
I was going to say, if your job was to produce these videos,
it'd be stressful. I mean, there's a lot of work. A lot of people don't realize, like, something as simple as this podcast. People just assume it's a mic. Yeah. All of this costs money. All of this takes time. I mean, there's basically two other people in the room who are managing it. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. And I don't know. I'm like, it's always easier for me to do something as a hobby. Yeah. And this is the reason why I've been doing it as such. As a hobby, just go with the flow, you make money off it, you get traction off it, you get known for it. It's easier that way than if your life depended on it, which is essentially what a lot of influencers do. I'm sure they'll get to a point where there'll be that like kind of tipping point. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But at the moment, it's a cool journey, Well,
it's pretty cool. So like your Mate X, you mentioned it before, the Huawei's foldable. What's that video up to now?
I think it's like 4 million.
Yeah, like 4 million. And again, that's only come out like within the last 2 months, 3 months?
I think 3 months, yeah. I'm happy about that because like in the tech community, there's people like Unbox Therapy who haven't had a chance. Yeah. MKBHD who didn't get a chance. And like if you type up, it's the first video that comes up.
Exactly.
So stuff like that is good, It's like, and it's good because I think, especially for this part of the world, because we get tech really late. Yeah. Really late. Yeah. So a lot of people were like, it's good to put Dubai on the map in some respect because you get other content creators who can say, look, wow, never knew that Dubai had these awesome, skyscrapers. We thought it was all camels and, the rest of it, deserts and stuff like that. So it's good to get people to notice this place as well.
Well, especially in tech, because again, as you said, like maybe like luxury, maybe there's a few like, there's rich kids at Dubai's Instagram account. It's got quite a lot of people and kind of Dubai's got very much a stigma. But the UAE doesn't have anything to do with like tech. No. At all. Yeah. And
I think there needs to be, even with the rich kids of Dubai, even the Rolex videos, one of the things that's really easy to do. I mean, I can go to like authorized, I could go to dealers that I know, collectors that I know, and I can make, 1 million dirham or dollar video. It's really easy to do that. But that's easy. Any Tom, Dick and, Muhammad can do that, really. It requires some, I think my view, this is a personal view, is that once you add kind of a certain depth to the videos, you're going to gain more respect and more traction. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of stopped vlogging as much and started moving on towards, creating content with education. Yeah. Because I feel like Dubai it's unfair because there's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of expertise here, but it's so easy to kind of, it's money. It's quick money. It's easy money. Watches, again, there are some incredible collectors here that really know the details of movements and specifics that would put some watchmakers to shame, but they don't get the traction because it's always easier to focus on the value of something as opposed to like the expertise. So I'm trying to do that with tech. It's really easy. I can unbox it in a Lamborghini. I can unbox it in private jet. I can do, and maybe I might do at some point, but I want to try and add a certain level to to the education element of that. So it's not like, oh, it's another rich kid. It's like someone who actually knows the difference between, you know, RAM and ROM. Something simple as that.
So why move into watches? Just pure interest, or
watches became a pure interest for me. And what I noticed was, like, I mean, I'm really into automatic watches. If you think about it, it's just incredible tech.
Yeah.
I mean, I still tell people, like, a Rolex doesn't have a battery in there unless you're talking about like one of the old quartz Rolex, but majority of Rolex don't have a battery inside. And people are like, how the hell does it work?
Yeah. Well, they were like the original tech.
I mean, exactly. And if you look at a lot of the movements, look at FP Journe, you look at, you know, AHLAN and Son, you just turn them around and like people are like, wow, there's so much tech that's involved in them. So like for me, it just felt natural. Like I was into watches at the time, you know, I could start affording them and, you know, playing around with them. So I thought like it would be a cool thing to just include on the channel. I'm glad I've done that because it's kind of helped.
Has like the audience, like, I mean, you kind of think that stereotypically you've got your tech, you've got your kind of early adopters, your, for lack of a better word, like your nerds and your geeks, and then you've got your kind of, again, and we're talking about Rolex, we're talking about kind of high-end watches, their value. Yeah. Has there been a has there been a clash, or has everyone kind of, you know, have you got two audiences on the same channel now, or is everyone just...
There is a bit of a clash. What I try and do is, I mean, look, the main bread and butter for my channel is tech, and like as far as the algorithm is concerned, you have to kind of respect that.
Yeah.
But if you do it in the right way and at the right time, and establish your niche within whatever, it's quite easy to get, you know, almost a separate audience within that. Like, again, I have to play it really careful. If I put too much watch-related stuff, it really damages the channel algorithm.
Yeah.
But when I do put it up in the right way, and the important thing is like YouTube has changed now, from my understanding, the algorithm has changed from channels to video content. So if you, again, do it in the right way, you can actually help boost that genre, put it into playlists, for example, that it is appropriate, you know, have it on certain forums and sites that are subject related, then it can be of a benefit. Yeah, but it's interesting because I do get people who are like, look, EMKWAN, we turn off, man. I can't afford an iPhone XS Max, let alone a
Rolex,
a GMT Master 2. You know. So I mean, you win some, you lose some. But ultimately, what I'm trying to do is, I suppose, try and be true to myself as well. Like, look, this is what I'm into. Phone, like a 700 dirham phone, because it's cool. There's a lot of new tech in there. Plus, this is also what I'm into. I think it just strikes a balance. Again, it's easy as an individual to do that.
Yeah.
Than it is for a publication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think individuals can.
Yeah, you can do that.
They can change. People naturally change and grow.
Exactly.
Whereas brands cannot.
Yeah.
So kind of, you mentioned algorithm a few times. What's it like? I know you do have a 9 to 5, but again, you're kind of you've been doing it long enough that you can consider leaving. What is it like? I imagine you'd have to put yourself into some of the other content creators' shoes as well. What is it like being on a platform where effectively you have no control? You have some control, but you really don't have a huge amount of control. Tomorrow, someone at YouTube could snap their fingers, and all of a sudden everything changes. Your livelihood is now somewhere else.
That's one of the reasons why I don't do it full time. Like, I just couldn't put all my eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
It's interesting you bring that up because, look, in the last 7 months, I think last 3 months, seriously, YouTube has made a rule where if you have young kids in videos now, I think either they're demonetized or there's some comments are turned off. So it's actually not going to help that video gain the traction. And it's funny because 3, 4, 5 months ago, I wanted to set up a third channel, which was just related to putting up educational stuff for kids around. So my kids were going to be part of that. And I had done all this planning and everything was ready. I had like 20, 30 videos ready to go. You know, I wanted to be the next Shark song, whatever. And then suddenly, like, a couple of guys at YouTube that I spoke to, they said, look, you need to be aware of this. Like, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And it did happen. And I was like, okay, cool, you know. So, I don't know. I mean, like, for me, my personal view is, when you're over-dependent on this platform, I mean, YouTube is full of just channels that talk about the algorithm and how it changes from week to week. I don't know, man. It's just one of those things. I think it helps me because, A, I've been doing it long enough. B, I'm not going to say I have contacts. I don't have contacts. But there are people that, not within the social media platforms itself, but there are people on the outside as well who are in agencies and social media is their 9 to 5. They understand the analytics, the data. They can say to me, look, these are the trends that we're seeing. And I'm the type of guy also, based on the 9 to 5, that I go into the research. So I'm interested in this stuff. So that can help me. And this is one of the reasons why I still don't feel comfortable with making it the 9 to 5. Because you're right, it can change. Yeah. Imagine all those channels that have been family vlogging channels, which at one point, let's say a year ago, seemed like the safest bet.
Yeah. That was the way. Was it Ryan's Toys Reviews? Like that, again, little kid does toys.
21 million
exactly.
Was the article a couple of weeks ago that I read. Now, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen to that. Again, remember gaming, like a couple of years ago, people were pushing me towards gaming. And at that time, I remember there was somebody that I know who worked at Sega who mentioned to me, he said to me, he goes, look, I think you need to be careful about it because there's basically copyright issues and just wait on it for a bit. And I had everything ready pretty much. I had like a whole series ready. I had these, videos pre-recorded. I was going to put them up and I'm glad I didn't because it would have blacklisted the channel essentially. Yeah. Put them up and then copyright strikes and that would have, So I don't know, man, it's tough. I think this is the other thing. Content creators really need to look at multiple streams of income. So you need to look at realistically, thinking about your bigger plan. I think it's important to start. You need to start on 1 or 2 or 3 platforms, but you need to think about what your mid to long-term goal is. And I don't know, for me, it needs to be about either you're making enough money so that the wife doesn't complain when you're spending 2 hours editing a video, as opposed to doing the family stuff, or you do it so that you're not taking drugs and doing anything crazy on the side. It's your release essentially. So you've got to try and find that balance. What is important to you at that time, and you've got to do it. But then you've got to think about where you're going 6 months, 12 months, and that changes as well. It's almost like a business. It's like running your own business, and the changes that come with that. New legislation. Here, for example, there were a ton of content creators, influencers, who were completely shocked by the license that came in. And they had to ask themselves, well, am I making enough to cover the license? If I am, cool, carry on. If I'm not, then, we need to take a step back and how do we work with that? So, it's kind of, it's tough. I mean, for me, look, it's a challenge. 2, it keeps me out of trouble. And 3, it's, it allows me to kind of develop other stuff. My 9 to 5 isn't as creative as this. I think I'm a slightly introvert and slightly, creative. So this is the medium to do that. Plus, I like setting small targets for myself. For example, when, the authorized dealers of Rolex said, who are you? I was like, well, I want to prove you wrong. So like, that kind of worked there. When it was to do with tech, I want to be on par with some of the other guys. This is now the new challenge for me. So it's kind of like I'm using that as a medium for that. But if tomorrow it was taken away, it's not like my house is going to be taken away.
Are you kind of like YouTube loyal? Would you jump kind of platforms? Like, are you playing with like Twitch and these other kind of?
Like, I am YouTube loyal now because I feel like I've seen a lot of other stuff, and I thought YouTube was bad 18 months ago, and I'm realizing there are a lot of other platforms that are really, really rinsing people. And the other thing is, like, I like to play the long game, like, if you think about it, I mean, in this part of the world, Instagram, from a agency perspective, from an advertiser's perspective, is super easy. We get to see the immediate numbers. Okay? But that content is lost. I don't care how big you are. You can have like 13, 15 million followers on Instagram. That content is lost. Whereas on YouTube, like some of the stuff that I posted up a year ago, which probably got 5,000, 6,000 views, suddenly there's a massive influx of people searching for it now. And then that gets thrown up on Google search, which is the world's largest search engine. YouTube is the second largest search engine now. So, and the other thing is it pays money. Like, Instagram, how much money do Instagram influencers make off the platform itself?
Off the platform, like nothing.
Nothing. IGTV, I remember when, certain people at Facebook were trying to get me to move over to IGTV or Facebook video. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, I need to see the money, man. Show me the money, right? If I can't see it, then why would I cut off that income stream for the other? I mean, YouTube has its own issues. They cut, ad revenue or whatever. But the thing is, it's still, it's a platform to build up expertise, which is like what I want to be known as. I don't want to be known as another kid with a lot of money posting up his lifestyle. I want to be known for something. Oh, you think of tech? All right, think of EMKWAN. You think of Rolex watches? I want to buy my first Rolex watch. I'll ask EMKWAN.
Yeah.
So that only comes from a platform where content is really sort of, it's not buried. It's kind of, it's transparent and you can search for it essentially. So I think YouTube, I mean, I haven't seen Facebook do that. I haven't seen IGTV do that. I still don't know where my IGTV videos are. I have to kind of like, it's 3-4 clicks to get to it, you know?
Yeah.
And I know a few content creators who like kind of jump ship, who focus from YouTube to Facebook, and now they're back on YouTube because it's cool, but they're not making money from it.
No.
Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to incorporate video, or they're trying to make competition to a platform that isn't built like that. If you think about YouTube, I mean, going all the way back, I mean, it's an insane platform. There's comments, there are likes, dislikes, so there's engagement levels there. Video, I mean, you can see a full video. It's easy to search, searchable with the world's largest search engine. It's great, and a really easy system of rewarding content creators for the effort that they put in.
So what about do you get any support from like YouTube?
I don't get any support. I mean, there were people in the past that worked with YouTube, different programs like the YouTube Partnership Program, that would reach out to me and say, look, EMKWAN, we like what you're doing. Here's like a report of things you could improve on, things that you can't. But that's been a while now.
Yeah.
I mean, now for me, like I've given up with a lot of the platforms. I think that you just have to try and figure it out yourself.
Just do it yourself.
Yeah. You could go down the route of let me try and network with this person, that person. I mean, like in the past, there were certain people at YouTube that, we want to invite you to LA, we want to do this, do that. I've had that with Facebook. I've had that with Instagram. Nobody really gives you the details either, so.
Well, see, I have a theory, and I don't think they know how the algorithms work. Yeah. I think that they started building these things like 15 years ago.
You're right.
And they've been bolting like features on. And now I reckon no one actually knows how the hell this thing's actually working.
I think you're right. I mean, I remember with my first YouTube channel, I got invited to London with a couple of other content creators, and we went to, at that time, YouTube Studios, but it wasn't open to the public. And there was a guy who spoke about the algorithm, and this thing sounded like the Terminator.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, so can we do this? We're not really sure this is it. Okay, let's be straight. Are you purposely not giving us the answers, or you just don't know?
Don't know, yeah.
And like, they can't say they don't know, but it felt like that. And I think you're right about that. I think, I mean, Instagram is relatively new. Facebook, like edge ranking from the past was something that there is a certain element of control. But again, these platforms, the algorithm, whether it's on Instagram or on YouTube, constantly develops because at a certain time, certain variables become important. And as a business, they need to do that. But then the downside is, as a content creator, I don't know, man, it's just, it's hard. It's hard. Like my personal prediction, one of the reasons why I stopped, at one time I was vlogging probably 90% and 10% was like the reviews.
Yeah.
And I decided to switch that around because I could see both from I'm with ITP Live, and I could see certain trends happening there where every Tom, Dick, and Harry, basically the more money you had, the crazier you were.
Yeah.
The better vlogger you would become.
There's a few vloggers that come to mind, but
but you're not developing substance.
Yeah.
And I think the long game, actually, there will come a point where people will look up to, one of the big things about the influencer term, why it's tarnished at the moment, is because do you really have any influence? Well, you can prove that if you're an expert in certain areas, let's say tech or watches, or cars or whatever. It's easy to, actually, that person does deserve the coverage, and it's niche, which incidentally 12 months ago wasn't the case, but now the algorithm favors channels that only stick to one subject.
Let's say you put up a review, people go like it's all your kind of followers, all your subscribers, anyone who watches that goes, well, that's you. Whereas if you're a journalist, you speak on behalf of the brand. There's a buffer. Like, if someone goes, cool, that's 3 out of 5, people don't necessarily get angry at the guy who wrote the review, they get angry at the publication. But with you, it's you. It's all on you.
Yeah. well, then this is the market. And, the market doesn't lie. The market is its own beast, and you have to respect that. So I think if journalists have an issue with that, and if publications have an issue with that, they need to change their business model on these social media platforms. Perhaps give all of their journalists the free reign and say, you set up your own YouTube channels. Like, you do it. Like, you have access to these phones. Chris, you get it. Tom, you get it. Just put it up. And that in turn feeds to the fact that you could easily make a YouTube video on a particular phone and say, look, if you want to read more about it, check out the link down below. But that video isn't necessarily associated with that publication, and therefore the liabilities aren't associated with that publication. I don't know why more publications haven't done that, but it's I understand publications need to keep journalists like your hours. Ultimately, there's a wall and a fence, but the market doesn't respect that, so you have to adapt and change. I think I've seen a few journalists, particularly in the tech industry. I mean, Sam Sheffer is one guy who, from the US, used to write for The Verge. Has done his own solo thing. I mean, he's got a lot of traction that way. There are a few others that have done that as well, who've kind of done their own thing, and it's worked for them. Some it hasn't worked for. So yeah, I think, I don't know, it's tough. Like, as a content creator, like, a lot of people don't realize, for me personally, I have to, every single video I put up, before I put up the video, I have to really think about it. Everything from the thumbnail to how long the video is going to be, to where the cuts are, to where I put the hit subscribe and all of that. And some of that, there are no rule books. So you've got to kind of experiment. The analytics will show you, oh, this is where people have dipped off. This is where people are engaging. So kind of like, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of like theory work that goes behind it. And it's the same. I suppose publications need to do the same. Journalists need to do the same. Yeah. Like, I don't know why publications don't do that. It's great for liability. Boom. We're not liable if somebody put something wrong. B, it's a great way of experimenting. C, if you think about it, for journalists, it's a great way of saying, look, we're letting you do this. If you become big enough, like, we've helped you. It's like a company that up-trains an employee. It's like, wow, you gave me a hand. They could become big, but you know that there'll always be, not an allegiance, but there'll always be some kind of respect. Yeah,
but I think the main issue with publications, like, speaking from the industry, is that brands don't want individuals to become bigger than the brand. And I think that, right or wrong, that's where people, that's what the bigger brands and the guys in charge of these brands don't want to happen. Yeah. And that's kind of a protectionist sort of thing. It's probably not the right way to go about it, but I think that's why it doesn't happen more.
That's why publications will never, ever. I mean, take The Verge, for example. Look how much money they've had pumped into them. They are the epitome. They're the top when it comes to brands that I would read and respect when it comes to tech. But they can't compete with that MKBHD.
No. Which is kind of, it's a little bit insane that you can have individuals now that are leading like genres of content just based by themselves. Yeah. And like, he has a team now, but again, it's this very small team, like 4 or 5 people, and he is producing less content but has a much bigger following than sites like The Verge. It's a little bit.
I mean, like, even Hodinkee, if you take like watches at the moment, watches is a little different because it's not like tech. It's not that kind of untapped market. Yeah, Hodinkee is probably the only publication brand that's really at the top of the top. But honestly, there are some watch reviews that I'm watching at the moment. I don't know, in a while they could overtake Hodinkee.
Yep.
Because they're individuals and not these publications. Again, Hodinkee, I think, does a good balance. They get certain people to talk about certain things, but it's still viewed as a publication. But yeah, it's interesting times.
So kind of like, where do you think this is the blue sky thinking? 5 years time, what are you still going to be doing tech? You still going to be doing YouTube?
I don't know. I think I really don't know. I mean, it's getting harder actually for me. It's getting harder because I'm kind of like, I don't know. I think I'm growing, obviously getting older as well. So there are certain things that are getting more important to me. And I think the whole social media thing, I've got kids. I think about how they view me when they watch these videos, or if they're going to watch them in a couple of years' time. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing. With the social media stuff for me, I take every day as it comes, every week as it comes. And I think I'm quite honest as well on social media. Like, if I'm not in the mood of doing something, I'll just say,
won't do it.
guys, I'm sorry, there's no video today. I'm not going to be in the mood of doing that. I still can't stick to a schedule, but you know, there's a rough schedule in place. People know that they normally expect videos twice a week.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like the beauty of this thing is, I think if you overthink it, like you have to strike a balance. The moment you overthink it, like you'll just go crazy, especially if it's not your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So I'm going with the flow. Who knows? It might be I might be into podcasting, like just tech related to podcasting. 18 months time, or I might be into only wearable tech. I don't know. I mean, watches. I never thought I could afford watches 24 months ago, and B, I never thought that I'd actually enjoy them as much now. You know.
It'll be interesting. So I kind of expected this to go more tech route, but it kind of went the whole influencer route, which means we will have to get you back to kind of talk dedicated tech.
No problem.
But thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us, man. Thank you. Thanks.